Kanan had his mic issues, and I was just thinking that is my audio working or not? But okay, it seems it's
Yeah,
working.
yeah, I could hear clearly.
Okay, so this is our sixth meeting. Before we start that, just FYI, next week there will not be a meeting. So don't be surprised if you don't see an invite. I'll be in Directions Asia next week. So, and that's the reason we'll not be doing it next week. But then the following week of May 24th, we'll have the meeting again. Hopefully I'll learn something new in Directions Asia, and maybe we'll talk about that if that happens.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, what else? Okay, so last time we did not do a good job of recording, so I started recording in time today. And Avinash, hopefully your printer selection issue has been settled down that we were talking about last week.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, so let's continue whatever we left of what is in PC 2024 release wave 1. So let's just some highlights. The CU1 is expected mid this week, hopefully, or by end of this week, to be released for BC 2024 release wave 1. At this point, Microsoft have also paused upgrades to Business Central 2024 release wave 1 on SaaS. And if you have customer or if you are a customer on PC, then I would suggest to hold off till CU1 gets released. We have seen some issues popping up, at least during upgrades from Microsoft. And I think they are working on resolving those issues. And once CU1 comes out, hopefully all that gets resolved and we all will be able to upgrade to 2024 release wave 1. But till then, hold off. If you have trying out upgrade and it's failing, just wait for CU1 to be released. Don't rush to it at this moment. Okay, let's talk about AL tool. So Microsoft have created a separate space for some commonly used commands, which were kind of scattered earlier, and there was nothing where they wanted to kind of keep adding things into it. So AL tool becomes a home for all these kind of commands going forward. So what happens is it comes up uh, with your VS Code extensions. So what I'm talking about, let me open my VS Code. Okay. So in your VS Code, you might have few extension or at least AL language extension installed. And like I have few of them, you might have more or less than me. But all these extensions are stored somewhere to be installed on your system. So wherever this extension is installed, that's where you will find the new tool called AL tool. Now, the easy way to find it is go into your C user and whatever your username is. So let me pop it into a browse, into a tab. So this is my default user. So if you have a different user, the path is your C drive users and then your username. C drive users and then whatever your username is. Once you guys get into it, there's a folder called v.vs code. And inside there is a folder called extension, where all the extension that you have installed in your VS Code, all those extension are available here. Now, people who have worked on SharePoint connector and all will know about it because there is another tool inside there. But as you can see, I have all these different extensions and every extension gets a folder here. For the Microsoft extensions, they're also placed inside the same folder. And the folder for that is should start with MS. Oh, yeah. So there is MS Dynamics SMB AL, and don't look at this version. That varies based on whatever the extension that you have installed. So right now, if you notice, I'm on the pre-release version. Now, if you don't know about the pre-release version, either say it in the chat or say it loud. Unmute yourself and talk about it, and we'll talk about it if needed. And based on either you are on a pre-release version or on a release version, this version may vary. So don't look for the version, but just look for MS Dynamics smb.al. And inside this, you get to bin folder if I'm not wrong. And then inside that Windows 32. Here is the home for all executable that Microsoft would have created. And let's filter out that. Okay. So there are these EXEs more or less. The ALC is used for your CRM connector. So if you have worked on CRM connector, you might know why this exe is here. So let's first check that alc.exe. I am at the right place, I guess. Bin. Oh, I'm on the bin. Okay, yeah. So I should be able to run ALC. Oh, okay. So ALC have a description, and I was surprised that they did not had a help. Yes, here it is. So the ALC is created or helps you if you are doing a CRM connector with a new table, or you have fields on existing Microsoft table which get connects to CRM. This helps you to create the virtual table for the integration between BC and CRM. There's a video on the YouTube channel if you're interested into how it works and all, but you don't have to manually create those virtual tables for CRM connector. This tool or this utility can help you to automatically convert or create the virtual tables for you if needed. Then the other one is AL Talk. Now I haven't used it, but what I've read about it, it's a great tool to do documentation. So maybe someday I'll kind of read about it and then understand it, what it does. But there are few commands over here, which is init, which creates an AL documentation folder. This refreshes the templates, and then this builds the documentation from a single app file. This is for the help which you are using, and this is the version. So there's nothing much into it, but people, whatever I was reading about it, it's a good utility to build documentation. So if somebody is interested, maybe you can talk about it in future. Well, let's come to the latest one, which is the AL tool. So AL tool is a recent addition which was made in this particular release. And as of today, it only contains 3 or 4, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of them help keep it out. Version, you can keep it out. But these are the 3 commands which are available here. Now, there are multiple use case scenarios of it. If you are working on your DevOps, you need to do certain things. That's where this tool comes handy. If you have an extension that you can't extract info about, not the code, but the app kind of detail, then you can utilize this, and we'll see how you utilize this. So as you can see, there are 4 commands or 3 commands more or less. The get package manifest, create symbol package, and get latest supported runtime version. So the first one is get package manifest, which helps you to get the manifest of an app file. Now, what a manifest is, it's kind of your app.json inside your extension. So if you have an extension, let's say from an ISV, and you want to get the details of that extension, you can then use this, and let's see what the parameters are. No, I don't see that. So let me just run it directly. Oh, what is this? AL tool, right? Okay. AL tool, and then
hyphen.
is it hyphen hyphen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So it needs some parameter. One is help, one is version, and the value at position number 1, which is required, and that should be the path of file, which is an app file. So no hyphen, sir. It just needs a path to the package file. So let's try with the Microsoft app. I was doing something and I'll have a dependency somewhere. Let me pick, let's say, this path and see what it brings out for you. Okay, copy as path. So now with this, if I paste this in, it gives me the app.json of that particular extension. What is the ID of it? What is the name of it? Publisher, version, runtime, show my code, target, uh, LCS algorithm, internal visible to ID ranges and other things. Do you want to try with something where the show my code is set to false? Let's see. Let's create one. I haven't checked it yet, so let's try that. Okay, demo one. Let's do 12.0. And let's try to download the symbols that are needed for it. Okay, this is not the right server. So let me add a configuration and point it to my cloud. Okay. Let's try to do the download symbols, see what happens. And this should be getting symbols from my sandbox, hopefully. And once I have the symbol, in the meantime, let's work on the app.json. So let's keep it demo. And then here I change, there is no show my code, but these are the files. So let's change these settings to be false. I don't want it on the symbol file. I don't want anybody to download the source, and I don't want it to be debuggable, which is not a good setting, but just to test it out. So you're making a kind of non-accessible. Let me see, can I still do show my code? I don't know. So my code is set to false. Oh, it does work. No, it's an error. It's deprecated and you need to use resource exposure. Okay. So I've said everything should be false. So it should not be accessible. And then if everything gets downloaded, which is still downloading. Oh, downloaded. Let's just try to build this and see what happens. It'll build for sure. But we would like to see what happens when we utilize this on our AL tool thing. Okay. Okay, so here is the app. Copy as path. And let's try to change the path here. And let's paste it. Still, it gives me the same detail which were there. So if for a reason, if you would like to understand what the dependencies of that app are, what is the idea of that app, which are other ways available to do that also. But somewhere in the pipeline, which I was reading in the community somewhere, that if you utilize JSON with comments, which we talked in the past, if you add comments into it, it kind of breaks the pipeline. So if you don't need to add comments, then don't add it, because it seems it's breaking pipeline, and hopefully Microsoft will fix it. But see, does it breaks the AL tool? So let's add a comment here. Okay. And let's add a comment somewhere here. Okay. Now let's try to build this again. Let's build and let's try to run this. Now it still works. So it's not breaking this. Now think it from the perspective of while you're working on the pipelines. You might have different apps that you would like to publish during your build process. Maybe your pertinent extensions that you're building and testing out with the pipelines. And it has a dependency, right? So you need to know what are the dependency before you install your app that is dependent on something else. Now for that you need to know which apps your custom app depends on, and then you need to verify is that app installed or not. To make that possible, you need to have a way to read the app.json to see what are the dependency for this app. And maybe that's something that you can achieve with the get package manifest command here. Any questions on that?
I think I could. Maybe they will like increase the command here or the command in. I don't know what would be the use case of seeing dependency here. But yeah.
No, so think it from this perspective of while in your pipeline, when you're trying to install an app, but you can get the dependency from PowerShell command also, right? Yeah. I need to rethink about it. Why the app.json is needed.
Yep.
Because all the insights from app.json can be get from the PowerShell commands that are already available. Okay, now this, let's see, the symbol package. Now, hopefully we do understand what the symbol packages are. If you don't, then the symbol packages are the runtime packages that you can deploy, which cannot be extracted uh, as an app. So let me kind of show you what I mean by that. So if I get into this app, which is this particular app, and I only get this app, I don't have the source code of this extension or nothing. I just get this app. So if I get a full-fledged app, then using 7-zip, I guess, I can do an extract to and download things for me, including the source, which in this case is only Hello World. So you'll normally see that customers or partners are providing you for on-prem the runtime apps. And how those runtime apps are created, there are again PowerShell commands available, but it seems that there is a way to create it here to create symbol packages. So if I copy this as path, hopefully this is needed. Path of the input package file and path of the output package file. Oh, so I need to give two paths. Okay, let's call it as let's do demo 2 for the timing, demo 3. Hopefully this works. Okay, it says it worked. Let's see. Okay, so now here it is, the new app. And now let's try to extract this to see what happens. So I'll go to 7-zip and extract it here. It did get extracted, but there is only manifest of this app. There is no source code of it. So typically when you talk to a partner and ask for an app, they typically give you the runtime app of that particular extension so that you cannot get access to the source code, which is their surely their copyright product. So if you are an extension app developer who just like to ship the runtime package, which is a valid package, it have the source code, but that is not possible to kind of see. So if I want to publish this, I'll be able to publish it in the same way as I publish this. The only thing is this one gives me that privacy to not to share my source code, but only share my symbol references. Now you'll not see, hopefully, when I do this. Let's see. Okay. So if I open this, I do see symbol references. Okay. So let's do a comparison. This one against this one. Okay. So if you see, this looks exactly same. There has been no changes. Otherwise, it kind of highlights itself in red. So this is correct or same. Let's see the nav manifest file between this and this. Okay. Now here, The only thing that changes is the timestamp. Nothing else changes. And the compiler version is same. The only thing that changes when your app was built. So everything else looks good there. Okay, what is the third file that was available in 3? Content type. Okay, content types. Okay. So the only thing that changes here is on the runtime app one, there is not this, which is default extension AL and content type blank. It does not contain that reference here. And that's the only difference. Otherwise, you get all these different files in your actual extension, which you don't get into a runtime package extension that we were creating here, or the symbol package. Any confusion about the symbol package?
No, good.
Okay. Now, with the release of BC24, Microsoft have also discontinued debugger support for prior versions. I guess if I'm not wrong, pre BC20, you will not be able to debug using the latest VS Code extension that you have. So now the problem begins is two parts. One, how do I debug? And then to debug, you need to know the exact version that you're debugging against. Okay. And that's where your get latest supported runtime version comes into the picture. Now let's see what that means. If I copy this and paste it against AL tool, it'll ask me to give a platform version. So let's try that. Okay. Platform version, let's say 14. Oh, unknown. Okay, is it okay? Let me try with the latest one first, or 23. Unknown. Okay, do I need to give only this? Okay, so I just need to give it into two pieces of it, and it'll tell you what is the supported runtime version for that particular version. So let's try how back it goes. So if I try BC22, this gives me 11. Let's go directly to BC 15, 4.0. And if I go behind that and do BC 14, which is 3.0, hopefully, no, it doesn't understand anything prior to BC 15. 14 was a hybrid, you all know that, but that supported from 3.0 runtime to 3.5. And if you don't know about the runtime, that's a property that you set here, which defines what platform capabilities you will get based on the runtime that you have chosen. So if you try to change this, you will see a list of different numbers here, and they are from 3.0. Now 3.0 is for Business Central Spring release, which is BC 14. But when I'm trying to do this with here on 14, it's not supported. Whereas 15 is also out of mainstream support. 16 is also out of mainstream support. So it's not around the, what we call that, support gone scenario. Yeah, because it's supporting 16. BC 16 is also no longer supported. So it seems it's getting stuck with 14. Let me try 13, which is BC 13 back then. No. So it has no info of any NAV version runtime, but it have info from version 15, which is the full-fledged AL extension version. Now, why it is important? It is important that based on whatever extension you're building for your customers, you need to know the exact runtime, so that if I'm building it for a customer who is on version 15, nobody should be there, then I cannot use the runtime latest, because There are certain code segments that are available based on different runtime. Do we know about the runtime property or not?
Yeah, I know it. I mean, we get error when we go like to the new version, right? At the time, I just upgraded. I don't know why it is used
Oh,
mostly.
okay. So that's a good shift. Let's quickly see that why it is used so that you guys understand and don't get confused in future. Okay. So, and Abhinash, you were there last week. Did we talk about this or not? The the new keyword this.
Yes, we talk about that.
You talk about that, right?
Yeah, we talk about that.
I forgot about that. Maybe let's go a little bit behind. You guys know that there was a new type of event which was introduced in one of the version. So let me create a code unit. 50100. Let's be my code unit. And inside that, if I'm trying to create a new event, so if I do a T event, I see business event, I see external event, and I see a external event. Where is the external event? Yeah, external event. Okay. Now these external events are used to trigger your power domain. So anytime you describe an external event or list an external event here, and then use that external event in your code, anytime the code will reach to that point, it'll automatically announce it to any Power Automate activity which is listening to this event. And then that can automatically trigger the Power Automate flow without manually doing anything. So let me give an example. If when the sales order get posted, you want to send an email notification or maybe a SMS to your customer that the sales order has been posted. So what you typically do is you go in here and define an external business event into a code unit and then define the hook of it somewhere in the code. So let me show it to you while we're talking about it. And for that, let's open Business Central because this came as a separate extension. So let me try finding out the folder for that, which is in Drive, Navigation Softwares, Application Setup, and maybe here. Oh, okay. Okay. Application setup, DVDs, PC15, let's say PC24. It's also whatever we are talking about, it's also available in the prior versions. So just FYI. And then in the application, there is should be a separate extension for it called external business event. Essential. Okay. External events. Okay. So Microsoft shipped it as a separate extension, and I don't know the exact version, but let me kind of show it to you what it does. Extract the source code, and now I'm opening it into my VS Code. All right. So from here, if you notice that in this, what Microsoft have done, there is a source folder, and then there is a sales external event. Now what's happening, if you look at it, this is a event subscribing when a sales order gets released. So whenever you click on release on the sales order, this event subscriber will be triggered. When it get triggered, this code will obviously run. What happens when it runs? It says if somebody is trying to do a preview post, then skip it. But if it is actually being posted, then if the sales order status is released, then build a URL. Now what the URL is, it says there is a code unit called external helper, which says create a link and called sales URL API, which kind of gives you an API endpoint for the sales order entity with the sales order ID. So it is generating an endpoint for you for that particular sales order. And then it also generates a web client URL for that particular entity. Then it is calling this method, which is sales order released, and this method is actually an external business event. So what happens when external business event line or this code executes is it automatically updates the Power Automate that a sales order is released, and these are the two parameters that external business event is exposing. So you don't have to do anything on the Power Automate. You can just look for when a sales order is released, which will get triggered from this external business event. Does that make sense? And if not, maybe next time we'll see it in detail. Okay.
Yep.
Coming back to what we were discussing, why we came here. If I come back here and if I give it a name, let's say demo, display name, and this is what get displayed in your Power Automate. So choose your name wisely. Description, I'm just showing it for the demo purpose. And then category is, I forgot about it. What is the category parameter? It's attached to a enum event category. So if I define event category and then, okay, let me define a var enum event category. Okay, so now I can say event category. I should be able to say it directly. Surprised that it is not popping up. Sales, let's say, the timing, and then the version is, let's say, 1.0. Okay, do I need to define it like this now? I don't know. Let's see. Should be able to. Okay. For some reason, it's not popping up, but it is supposed to be popped up here, and I should be able to select sales. Okay. Now what happens with this? At this point, this code will compile because everything seems to be in shape. If I come back here and, oh, I'm actually on the wrong one, and that's why it's not popping up. So if I change it to 13.0, and let me try to reload this. Okay. I don't even have to define this if I'm not wrong. I can just utilize it. All right. So now you see that this should pop up now. No. Hmm. That's a little bit odd. It should be working on it. Let's try this. Otherwise, let's try to compile this. That's not a problem. So if I try to download symbols against it, okay, let's do a cloud sandbox. And let's try this again to download symbols. And you can just do it on any app that you are interested in. Oh, this is pointing to version 24. So I'll have to check my version 24 environment name. Okay, here I am. Let's do download symbols. So have anyone used external business event yet in the scenarios? Or are you guys even working on Power Automate till now?
I haven't used.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, it's a great way to kind of use it this way, because then the whole problem with managing Power Automate indirectly is a little bit tough. With this, it kind of becomes empty. Okay. At this point, you see that everything is compiling. There are some warnings here and there, 17 warnings, because Microsoft is making some of these as obsolete, but there are no errors at this point. But if I come here and change this runtime, where they kept it, there's no runtime attached to it. Platform target. Oh, there's a target on-prem. Great. Okay, so let me try to specify the runtime and make it 3.0, which is for BC14, or let's make it higher, 5.0. Okay, still resource exposure policy have an error. So see, this setting is also very tightly related to the runtime. So now if you look at it, the resource exposure policy is not available in runtime. The supported version is 8 or higher. So I'll have to do, let's say, 8. Now this gets fixed. Great. But now if you look at it here, it tells you that first namespaces, which is a coding practice, it is not related to your extension more or less, if you think from that perspective, but it's failing out because namespaces were not part of that particular runtime that you're utilizing. In the same way, when you come here down, it's all pointing to only that, but here, if you look at it, this is only available in run point 8.0. Not available at 8.0, it is only available at 11 or higher. So there are certain pieces on your code which are very tightly dependent on which runtime version you are using. Okay, you don't have to update it with every upgrade that you're doing. It's not amended, but if you're utilizing certain new features which were not part of the AL language in the past, then they are directly related to the runtime property. Not very old example is the Excel layouts or report extensions. They came with a specific runtime. So if you are on a prior runtime, you'll not be able to create, let's say, Excel layout or mm, report extension or the external business event. So you need to be on a supported runtime platform when it was released. And that's where runtimes becomes important to know what runtime to be used. Now runtime, if you read this property, it talks about what the runtime is, which is the version of the runtime that the project is targeting, on which runtime you'll be installing it. And as we learned from the AL tool, these runtime are directly connected to which business central version your customer is using. If you build on a specific runtime, then the project can be published to a server with the earlier or the same version runtime. And when it says can be, that depends on did the runtime had those capabilities or not. And that's the reason in certain cases, if you build an extension for BC24, that might not work backward to BC19. But that depends. So that's where runtime becomes important. And the other reason of runtime is also that it helps you in doing your debugging, which is no longer supported with the latest version or a latest update on the VS Code. So then how you do it? There are two ways to do it. In the AL language extension, there is an option to install other version. When you click on it, it gives you a list of it. Okay. It also gives you a timeline when it was released 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But these are the different versions of AL language that has been released by Microsoft. It might get a little bit tricky by choosing the right version that you would like to install. And that's where your local installation comes into the picture. So let me open my browser. Okay, this. So when, and this is specifically on-prem because the customers who are on SaaS are always on the latest version or -1 more or less at that moment. But if you are on on-prem and you would like to debug a customer environment for whatever the issue that there is, you can always go into your C drive or customer C drive, program files, x86 most probably. Let's see. Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. I only have BC 140. Inside here and even into the higher versions of BC, there will not be this folder, but there will be a AL development environment folder. And inside this, you always will get a AL language.vsix file. Now, what is VSIX file? A VSIX file is an extension for VS Code matching to the version that customer have installed. So if they are, let's say, on 22.7, this AL extension or AL language VSIX is pointing to the exact runtime or exact time or exact version of VS Code that will support that particular customer environment version. So what you have to do, you just have to choose this path, whatever this is, copy that, come back to your VS Code here, uninstall this extension. Let me uninstall it. Reload your environment. Now you are here of your own. There is no AL language extension at this moment. So without the extension, the VS Code editor does not understand what you're doing specifically with respect to Business Central because we just removed that extension, right? Then here are three dots, which rarely people look at it. But if you click on it, it gives you an option to install from VSIX. When you click on install on VSIX, you can give it a path where your VSIX file is, choose that file, and it will install the exact version of AL language that your customer needs. So if a customer is on 23.2, in that folder, you will find the AL language extension for 23.2. If the customer is on 19.7, in the folder, you will find the exact version that support 19.7. So based on your customer environment, you can pick and choose, or not pick and choose, but be very sure which extensions you will need. And then install it on their environment rather than relying on the latest one, because the only thing that's changed in this version, which have not changed in the past, is you will not be able to debug the older versions prior to BC 20, if I'm not wrong. Okay, let me install back my AL language extension, and this then it will install in a while. Any question about the VSIX file and why this kind of the Git latest supported version supports or helps you in doing whatever you're doing?
No question. But I mean, I know that way to install. It is new to
Oh,
me.
nice. Oh, you didn't knew that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. 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 So these are the three commands. Then help is what we are seeing, and then the version hopefully will give me the version of the AL language extension or this tool, which is AL tool. Now, as I said earlier, this is the first step toward this direction where there are only three commands. I hope going forward there are more commands added into the AL2 section. Okay, we did talk about that. Let's move into this. I don't know how many people will be impacted with it, but it's good to know if a customer kind of asks for it. So with this release of BC24, Microsoft did came out with a separate extension altogether for BC24, which is called sustainability. I don't know how many of you paid attention to it, but there is a completely separate extension built for BC24. And as per Microsoft, let's look at it first. Sustainability and sustainability contour show copy demo data set. Now, this is an extension which never existed in the past, and this is a completely new effort from Microsoft into this area. Now, It may not apply to you based on whatever region you're working on as of today, but if a customer asks for it, it's a nice way to kind of manage it. Uh, right now, there is very basic stuff into it, but Microsoft is very have plans to include different things into it. But this is for companies or for countries where recording um, kind of your carbon footprint as a company is important, and it's an auditing requirement, right? uh, it's going to be mandatory in some regions of Europe based on certain company sizes, and as per Microsoft, they think that there will be a good amount of customer who will get impacted with that local regulatory change in that country, and will need something in the product to move forward with it. So what they did, the first thing that they did is your control so demo database, right? Data set, and also coffee, I guess. Hmm. Let's see, is it demo data?
There was
Yes.
typo. Uh,
So this is the new home for the demo data. So when you are going for a demo and you want the data to be loaded into the system for your pre-sales demo or whatever demos you are doing, this is your home, new home for all the demo data that you need. So if you're starting from scratch and you would like to have data for any of these features which are listed here, just go and start the setup, and it'll automatically creates the related data that will help you to kind of show it to your customer. Just click on generate, and you'll have the data for your demo. It seems you can configure it, which is nice, but not everything, I guess. Let's see, can I do manufacturing configure? Oh, so this is just a location. But this is not to be used on any production environment. This is just for demos where you need some data. So when they introduced the sustainability model into Business Central, they also included the demo data for it. Now let's see what happens when we search for sustainability. Okay, so if we look at it, there is everything like any other area in Business Central, starting from setup, journals, recurring journals, templates, a separate chart of account, and account categories. So let's look at the setup. The setup helps you to identify what emission unit of major code you're using based on whatever your industries and whatever their standards are to calculate the emissions. You can choose that unit of major. You can choose the dimension, decimal places property. And here it is. Is it mandatory on a country or region? You can enable or disable it. It might be that your customer would like to be future ready and just wanted to introduce it before it becomes mandatory. So that boolean is for them. Then there are responsibility center and the different calculation that need to happen. Here is how it is meant kind of utilizing the calculation with the electricity and fuel, how much you spend for your vehicles. This is for the custom amounts, and this for the distance. And then what kind of reporting you would like, you can define on what unit of major you would like to record. And maybe just to give an example, your emission unit is gram, but you would like reports to be generated on kilograms. We'll just do the conversion while printing the report. The currency, the exchange factor, and the rounding precision for it. And here are the sustainability account category. So like your GL account categories, they're kind of similar to it, where you define what their scope is, what kind of emission it is it carbon dioxide, CH4, NO, N2O, and how you want to calculate it. As I said, this is the first draft of what Microsoft suggested for the sustainability. As per Microsoft, in every release going forward, till they think that it's kind of matured, there will be enhancement into this particular area in Business Central. Now, once you define this, your account categories, if needed, you can surely go into the journals and then set up the batches. I cannot open that. Okay. So let's search for the same sustainability in the tell me feature. So we saw the this, and let's see the sustainability journal. So the Contoso demo data set have already loaded some demo data for you, which kind of gives you a journal kind of look or payment journal kind of look, where you can specify what kind of category, subcategory, and emission you are making, and how you would like to report them. And you also have option to add dimensions, it seems. And then you can surely post these entries, which should turn up into your chart of account. But because it's sustainability and it gets into a separate reporting of how much emissions you are making, and things like that, there is a separate chart of account for it. Okay. Which, like any other chart of account, is grouping things into different categories and calculating values based on whatever you are posting from your journals around sustainability. It's a completely separate page altogether. It is not related to your chart of account. And anything else on the sustainability here? This is recurring. And then there are surely ledger entries when you post from journal. So these are the ledger entry that gets created for it.
Nice. There are any reports?
I guess they said that they are working on some report, but I think there is one, if I'm not wrong. Let me see if there is one or not. That's a good question. I think they said that they have one report. Let's see. Is it here? No, it's not here. Okay. Journal line, more option. Nothing that I can see of. But if you want to see, let's go into the folders. What is that? Okay. What is that? Sustainability. Let's see what's in the source. That'll kind of give us an hint, are the reports available or not. If I'm not overlapping this with something else, I think they said that they had a report. Let's see. So when I get into source, there is a report section, emission by category, and they seems to be being Excel layouts. Oh, nice. So let's search for emission by category. Okay. Okay. And I can directly download it. There is no option to kind of see it, which is surprising. Not that much. Okay. So Avinash, there are some reports, but they all are Excel reports, and based on the data kind of generated, you can see them.
Okay.
Hopefully there is some data. Let's see.
It looks there are some here in that.
Yeah. So based on different emissions that your organization is doing or your customer organization is doing, you're going to start using the sustainability app, because it will take time to be a practice to start recording our efforts toward it. Right. So there are 4 reports, if I'm not wrong: the emission by category, and then emission per facility, which is based on the different groups. And then there is a total emission report. So there are 3 reports out of it: the total emission one, emission per facility, and emission by category. There might be some new into kind of into the future as we move toward it, because as I said, it's not just a the only app that's available. There will be features added into every major release into the sustainability part. Okay, any questions? Let me look at the chat.
No, but this sustainability seems to be good.
Okay, finally, Kanan, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it
was waiting.
seems by 2025, Europe is
Mm.
making it mandatory for SMBs, and that's where Microsoft have to build something around it. There are some plans in future to have it legally bounded in US as well as in India. So
Mm.
if your customers are aware, let's start, utilizing the sustainability app, and then see what are the missing pieces. So I'm not saying
Correct,
it's a
correct.
completely big product, but then that gives you
Mm.
flexibility as a partner or as a developer to report it into the
Mm.
BC Idea website, so that
Mm.
your country specific need or business specific need can be catered into this new app for sustainability.
Yeah, sure.
You know, maybe for India you need to start charging GST on sustainability. I don't know, just throwing it out. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Anything can
whatever
happen.
it is, yeah,
Uh,
whatever it is, let's start baking this in, and that who is the best person to
yes,
test it other than our customers, right?
yes, correct.
So it's a separate app. Even if
Mm.
it doesn't make sense, they can always uninstall it if it causes
Yeah.
problem, which I doubt, because it's a completely separate module altogether. It's not interfacing with any base module at
Mm.
this moment, but I think there will be a need going forward to interface it with base.
Yes.
As we do transaction, we might start recording those also in
Yeah.
some way. You know, a
Some
shipment is
relationship will be
going on a
maintained. Yeah.
truck to a 100-kilometer distance. How much
Mm.
uh, emission is
The
happening
emission.
due to that? Yeah, but let's figure those out. What are those features that can be added into the sustainability, and then let's report it to Microsoft so that they can, in their plans of whatever they are adding, they start incorporating those changes into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, anyone? Before I let you guys go and then meet you in next 2 weeks or next week.
No.
Okay.
What is the changes on web services?
Okay, so let me briefly talk about it if you're interested into it. The one change that is coming on web services is around a new operator which is available, which is the in operator. It's not working at this moment, but hopefully with the CU1 it'll start working. The use case for it is, let's say when you're filtering a record for, let's say, 5 customer, it becomes a little bit bigger URL when you're using it, where you do a equal to or, and then again the parameter name, and then equal to. You can now will be able to start using in operator, where you can just comma separated whatever your multi part filter is, and then it'll start working on it. One. Second, just an announcement: API v1 will be deprecated in BC 26. So if you or your customer is relying on v1 of API, which was released in 2018, NAV 2018, if I'm not wrong, or BC 14, somewhere around that time, Microsoft is going to remove it. On sunset is on BC 26. So start shifting your customer to the version 2, which is the default version of APIs that's available. Um, There is also another deprecation that is coming up, which is specific to SOAP pages only. So when you publish web services, if you're publishing SOAP kind of services specifically to Microsoft pages, those will be deprecated in BC26. So hopefully, the way I'm able to understand it is you'll not be able to add, sorry, a standard Microsoft page as a SOAP web service. You will be able to surely publish your custom pages at this moment. But from a Microsoft standpoint, the SOAP pages will be deprecated in BC26. As for Microsoft, there are very few systems in the world which are still relying on SOAP. Everybody have shifted towards OData, and that's the direction Microsoft is taking on it. Okay. Last but not least, web services, or I would say API call, had a throttling problem. So what used to happen is when you make a multi request to a endpoint, let's say 100 or not 100, let's say 50 post sales order from an API call. What used to happen is after 5 requests, they were kind of getting queued, because per environment, at least on the SaaS, there was a limit of 5 web service or API calls. And after that, everything gets queued in and then they get posted against the 5 cap of sessions that were available. Microsoft understands it, that's slow and it's slowing down your custom processes. The change on that is now, instead of per environment 5 parallel sessions for web services, which was available till BC23, in BC24, you get, let me be very clear about it, maybe 3 or 5. So I'm a little bit confused. 3 or 5 parallel session per user, not per tenant, per user. So if Kanan and Avinash are on the same environment and Kanan is making transactions around sales processes, he will not block access to API endpoints which Avinash is making, let's say on purchase side.
Okay.
So you don't queue up resources because a user on a different department is making a bunch of API call to do something, you know. So you get per user limit. So as many users you have, as many number of parallel API calls you can make to Business Central. As per Microsoft, there is a global limit set per tenant, but they said that it's very flexible at their end to increase that limit as they see that there is queuing happening again. But the way that they are dealing with as of today is they are doing a round robin if there are multiple API calls that are made by different users at the same time. So if you reach to the threshold limit, which they said if you reach to that point, then if Kanan got the first slot to post his API endpoints and he's posting, let's say, 50 of them, and Avinash is second in the queue who came in to make some API calls, Kanan will not get the whole set and let his piece complete. He'll reach to the threshold limit per tenant, and as soon as his records are processed based on the global threshold, the system will automatically play a round robin, and the second session or the second set will be processed for Avinash, not for Kanan. So Kanan requests will be on hold if they reach to a global threshold, and then it processes Avinash request, and then it again does a round robin. If nobody else is posting, it goes back to Kanan.
Kanan. Okay. So that nobody's stuck.
Yeah, nobody's stuck, and everybody's API endpoints or calls are happening.
Okay.
So those are the major changes. The web service change is surely a huge change. We surely have to test it out. I'm just waiting for CU1 to test it out, because queuing is surely a problem with customers who have a lot of API calls that are happening in and out. So with this particular change of changing the limit from tenant to users will be great enhancement for the customers who are using that.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure. Definitely.
okay. Anything else, anyone?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Well, okay. Hey,
Okay.
Arun.
Have
I don't know when you joined.
No, I joined just half an hour back.
Oh, okay, nice. Okay, so then see you on 24th. I will surely send out the invite sooner than later. I'll be back on 20th, so yeah, we can meet on 24th.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Arun.
Have a nice
Bye.
time at your directions, Asia. Directions, right? Where?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm just
Yeah.
attending this time, so hopefully it's
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Saurabh.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Good
Arun.
night.
Good night. Okay, so if you're still here, let me know what you think about the topics that we talked about. If there is something that I said incorrectly, please add it to the comments. Okay. If there is a question that you would like to be discussed on this meeting, again, drop it into the comments or email me and we'll talk about it. I'll need your consent to openly discuss it into these meetings. So if you tell me that it's okay to be discussed here, we'll surely talk about it. Is there anything specific that you want these meetings to be? Again, you know the drill. Add it into the comments and we'll make changes to it. So the next BC Open discussion, which is the 7th BC Open discussion, will be happening on 24th of May, as I'll be traveling to Directions Asia, and hopefully I have stories to share from Directions Asia. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing whatever you're learning with your colleagues and friends. Till then, have a good day and see you sooner than later on the next BC Open discussion meeting. Thank you.